it's perked up since the early days, and even the A's, who have had issues with their ballpark and other things, trading their players away, have managed to win in the last year.
Yeah, and the Giants, I mean, they've been doing it right since 2010, obviously. Great coach. They tried to get Greinke. They don't get him, but almost parlay that money into signing two solid pitchers, I think, in Cueto and Samaja, who are coming off not great years, but also coming off years in the American League, which I think sort of hurt them. What's the buzz around those two as we go into spring training?
Well, Samaja was the guy who pitched the first day, and he did pretty well. We have some history with him since he pitched for the A's briefly a couple years ago. Right. And I think he's going to be a good fit for that team. Having seen him pitch, know the kind of personality he is. I know he had a bad second half last year, but as he explained the other day, his mind was messed up because he was expecting to be traded by the White Sox.
Right.
And when it didn't happen, he said he just kind of lost his focus. And that may have had some impact on the numbers that he put up, which were pretty horrible. And but really, over the last 2 to 3 years, the guy is in an uncertain situation, and he believes that now that he knows, he's in a place where he knows he's going to be for 3 or 4 years, that he can totally
right.
Great ballpark for him. It should work out. It should work out well for him. Cueto is, it's going to be a wait and see with him. I mean, obviously he's a great pitcher. He's one of the best, probably one of the in the top 10% of starting pitchers in baseball. And he's been around. He's pitched in the National League. He seems to be more comfortable in the National League. And he's had some ups and downs over the last couple of years, but as long as he stays healthy, I think his repertoire of pitches are going to be good.
Yeah, because I know he had issues with his shoulder in Cincinnati last year. I mean, they obviously wouldn't have gave him all this money if they didn't check in on that. So hopefully he gets through the season. But another, I
think what the Giants are banking on is that he pitched maybe one of the toughest ballparks in baseball to pitch in, the Great American Ballpark. It's Williamsport, basically. And now he's moving. He went to Kansas City and performed pretty well for them in a pitcher's park.
In a pitcher's park, right?
I think the Giants felt like, hey, we bring him to our park, he's going to be very effective here. And he's a good personality to have in the club. It gives, he's a lively guy and has some style to him. And the Giants, if you criticize them for anything, they don't have a whole lot of that. So it's going to be, particularly with Lincecum leaving, and he's going to bring a little flair to a team that's pretty buttoned down.
Right. I would say that too. And I was going to ask you who was the funniest guy in the clubhouse, but I knew it would be tough. We've been asking everybody that, and I was thinking in my head, like, who is the funniest guy in San Francisco? Well,
before, Pablo Sandoval used to be the life of the party. I mean, you never knew, what he was going to. He always came in a happy-go-lucky mood, and he was always playing pranks and stuff like that. So
now all he's doing is eating up here.
A lot of quiet guys who are very studious and very, like I say, buttoned down.
Yeah.
Kind of following the lead of Buster Posey.
Right.
And so you had the Sergio Romo, who is kind of has a little flair to him, but beyond that, I mean, it's a pretty straight-laced team.
Right.
So it should be kind of fun to have Cueto in their clubhouse.
Yeah, so you mentioned, Sandoval loses. They bring up a skinny rookie in Matt Duffy last year. I forget what round he was even drafted in. I think it was like the 16th round in 2012. Yeah. He's never hit a home run in college, and he comes up, hits 12 home runs this year. The question is, was it a flash in the pan, or is he going to be a legit major league player? What do you think about him? Hello? Okay. Did we lose him? You still there? And we lost him. All right, let's try to get him back on the phone real quick. See if we can get him on the phone here. Trying to answer it. Hey, how you doing? Sorry about that.
I lost the call here. I am on a cell phone. I don't know if you want to call me back on a landline. Maybe it'll work a little better.
Yeah, it's up to it's your call. You get the yeah. Hold on.
Let's do the landline so we won't have this.
All right, go ahead. Give me the number. I got it. I got you on mute. Yep. Yep. All right. Thanks for calling right now. It's all good. All right. Calling you right now. All right. Bye. All right. That was, technology at its best, I guess, right?
Hello?
Hey, okay. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So I was getting into Matt Duffy, and, obviously I didn't know where you cut off, but no home runs in college, and he comes in, hits 12 home runs this year. Was it a flash in the pan, or is he going to be a serious major league player?
Well, as he's explained it to us, he made a hitting adjustment in Double-A, and he became a very good contact hitter, hit per average, and just basically hit the ball where it was pitched. And I think naturally, as he has matured, he is a thin guy, but he is, trying to put on a little bit of weight, and he started hitting a few home runs. He started getting a little bit of elevation. I think you find that pattern in a lot of young players where they learn how to lift the ball a little bit. Some don't ever learn it, but occasionally some do. And I think he's one of those guys just because of being able to hit a good natural hitter. Mm-hmm. That's been a natural progression of his hitting effort. I don't think I don't think the Giants expected him to hit that many home runs, but it's a pleasant development. Just about everything else of his game. I mean, he came to spring training last year. Nobody was expecting him to be their regular third baseman. I mean, he wasn't even a third baseman. He was a middle infielder. So he made that transition really well, and they really dodged a bullet in terms of filling that position. That had been filled so well by Sandoval over several years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this team is not really a power team overall, but one of the best contact team. I think they hit for the best average in the National League last year. Starting pitching, I think last year was the issue as far as getting deep into games. Bullpen pretty good again this year. Obviously with Romo, Lopez, you got the closer. Where is the hole in this team, do you think? Because I don't think it's in the bullpen.
Well, that's a good question because they're kind of in a transition in their bullpen right now. I mean, their guys are getting up there in years. I mean, Lopez is 38, and Casilla, who's tentatively going to be the closer, is 34, and Romo's in the last year of his contract, and he's in his early 30s. And they've got some young guys that they brought up, Hunter Strickland and Josh Osich, that kind of bringing some youth back to that unit. The thing about the Giants is that over the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years, have really been developing arms in the in the minor leagues. Yep. And it's they've got a lot of guys down there who can throw hard and are going to make it on the scene here in the next few years, both starters and relievers. And that's a function of the guy who's now their scouting and player personnel director, John Barr. You don't hear a lot about this guy, but ever since this guy has come in to the organization, they've built through their system, and this is why you see a Brandon Belt at first, a Posey behind the plate, Panic at second, Crawford, Duffy, a guy like Duffy, or Susak, who's a backup catcher who could probably start for a lot of teams. They're developing their young talent. I mean, they're identifying young talent and developing it, and I think you're going to see that manifested in their pitching staff. in the next few years. Obviously, Bumgarner is a product of the system as well, and they've got some starters backed up too. And I think, for the time being, they're going to go with some of these veteran free agents that they signed. But I think the next wave of the organization is going to be getting back to the, a staff that they developed, just like they developed on their infield.
Yeah, you talk about catcher. I mean, you guys are even Trevor Brown was looking great in September. I remember him. So you guys are deep there. Well, I appreciate it. I got 5 quick questions we'll run through, and then maybe touch on Golden State a little bit. Where's the first? Let's see. What's one young, I know we touched on a few of them, but what's one young player to look out for this year, sort of under the radar?
Well, we saw a little bit of Osich last year. He was a good left-handed reliever out of the bullpen. But, if I was looking at the roster right now, I'd look for a guy, an outfielder by the name of Mac Williamson. Currently they're projecting Angel Pagan to be the left fielder with Denard Span in center. Right. But I think the left field is a little more open than it looks right now. For one thing,
defensively,
is an older player who's injury prone. They have Gregor Blanco, who is in the last year of his contract, is more of a utility outfielder. But this guy Williamson, he's 6'5" and 240 pounds.
Wow. And
I think I saw something the other day where he hit the hardest ball that was hit by a Giant last year. It wound up being a single, but it was in terms of its velocity off the bat.
Yeah.
He missed a year because he blew out his arm in minor leagues, but he's healthy again now. He has a great arm from the outfield, and he's got great power potential. And I think they would love to see this guy take the next step. And the way guys seem to step in, like the Duffys and the Mechanics, I wouldn't rule it out. And you saw what Jarrett Parker did in that game last year. Yep. He's another guy who's got incredible power. He's a little bit older. He's 27. Yep. But he's another possibility. You could actually see the Giants develop an outfielder for a change. They haven't done that in so long.
Right. Yeah. All right. Now, how many wins over under 88?
That's a good call. That's a good question because while they may be one of the best teams, they're also going to be playing in a division with the Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are both really, I would project to be 85 to 90 win teams. So I think you could have a dogfight in there where 87 to 88 wins the division. Yeah. I'm sure they would love to get to 92, which would probably at least assure them a spot in the postseason. Right. And we've seen what they do when they get to the postseason. They don't necessarily have to win it all. I mean, they won it as a wild card 2 years ago. So
they haven't. I don't think they've lost a postseason. They've won their last 10 postseason series, haven't they?
Right.
It's crazy. Yeah. So that's a function of a lot of things, but mostly because they've had a stud pitcher who's been able to get them through tough series, and for 2 series it was for 2010 it was Lincecum, 2012 it was Kane, and 2014 it was Bumgarner. Right. So we'll see what happens this year. Yeah. World Series matchup. I know it's early, but who's in the World Series this year?
I think there's maybe 7 or 8 teams that can compete in the National League. I mean, the National League is really interesting in that there's
top heavy.
There's a lot of good teams, and there's a lot of bad teams. Yeah. There's no teams that really look average.
Right.
Right now, I think I'm going to go with the Cubs. I mean, everybody's saying, I would hate not to predict the Cubs and have them win it for the first time in 108 years.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
I mean, I think they're the projected favorites in the National League, and considering the additions they've made, I mean, they look like a complete unit. They're a good mixture of young and veteran. They appear to have the